Hello. The Divine Code reading for February 29th, pages 533 and 534. We are in the chapter Precepts related to the spilling of semen and contraception. We are now in the second half of topic number 1. According to all opinions, it is clear that this remains a corrupt act. So this is referring to the spilling of semen, whether it's by a person doing this with themselves, another person doing it to him, or what's called pulling out in the middle of sexual relations, such as and onan. According to all opinions, it is clear that this remains a corrupt action and is counter to acting in the proper way to establishing a corrected and settled society. As it said, the world was not created to be empty, but rather to be settled. Since this action is empty and corrupt, see Levush Evan Ha'ezer, chapter 23, and Aruk Laner Anita 13. It is logical that it is forbidden. So we understand there's a divine precept, or it's not really a precept, it's behind the precepts, is that God wishes the world to be settled. And this action does not help the settling of the world. It doesn't help to build society. And therefore would be the action is empty, and it's logical that it should not be done. It is also expressly forbidden in the Torah of Moses that it is an action, is expressly written in the Torah of Moses that it is an action that is evil in God's eyes and is therefore forbidden in the Noahide Code. So actions that are understood to be evil in God's eyes or an abomination in God's eyes, these actions, even if they're not specifically within the 7 commandments to the children of Noah, they are understood to be improper for all people at all times, and is therefore forbidden in the Noahide Code. Another point regarding this transgression is that it is a destructive act that causes long-term physical and mental emotional damage to the person. One who falls into a regular habit of this behavior causes actual damage to himself. It is forbidden within the Noahide Code to commit self-damage, as was explained in the part on murder, chapter 6. We shall see that in later Torah authorities permitted one to do this on a case-by-case basis for the purpose of needed medical testing. So if the person needs to sort of collect a sample for medical testing, that's permitted. And it's written in part, 5, that's the unit on the prohibition against murder, chapter 6. One may cause or allow damage to his body if there is a truly accepted need to do this, in which case an emission of semen is not considered to have been done in vain. So there's times when there's medical necessity to cause harm to one's body. If there's gangrene in the arm or something, God forbid, then there's a necessity to cause damage to the body, but only in a case where there's a necessity would that be permitted. Similarly, it appears to the author, that's the author of the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, that one has an intense urge to cohabit with a prostitute. It is better that he spill his semen and not cohabit with her, even though she is unmarried, since both actions violate the command of Gentiles to make the world settled, and cohabiting with a prostitute causes a greater destruction to society at large than his own self-damaging act of masturbation. So within these things that are improper, there is a kind of a graded scale. And if the person has an intense longing to be with a prostitute, it would be better that he spill his own semen rather than engage with activities with a prostitute. It'd be better though if he didn't have those urges with a prostitute either. But it just using that as an example to show that there's gradations within this area. Also, there are those who say that one who cohabits with a prostitute by default also transgresses the prohibition of wasting emission of semen. So in that case, in either case, there's a wasting of semen if one is with a prostitute also. And therefore, that would sort of cancel out the wasting of semen in either case, and the added dimension of the destruction of society caused by prostitution would make that a greater sin, a greater wickedness. See, Otzar, Hauskin, Volume 9, page 90b. Since it is not done for the purpose of marital relations, as well as the fact that the prostitutes use methods of contraception to avoid pregnancy, and those men who use their services are drawn away from the positive obligation to father and raise children. So an act of relations with the prostitute is the same as if the man spilled his own semen on his own, and better that he transgress only one prohibition rather than two. The sages taught that a man's semen is the strength of his body, the body's life force, and light of his eyes. And if a man habitually ejaculates overly much, his body and his physical power are weakened and his lifespan is shortened. So there's an understanding with the sages that over activity, and this would either be through spilling a semen or through normal marital activity. Overactivity draws energy out of the body and weakens the body. And therefore, overactivity, whether it's through self-activity or if it's with another person, doing that too much can actually damage the body. This even includes a man who makes it his habit to engage overindulgently with permitted sexual relations beyond his expected congenial duties to his wife. So moderation is proper in this area with a permitted partner. His old age advances upon him prematurely. His strength is weakened. His eyesight diminishes. His mouth and his armpits emit foul odors, and his hair falls out, to name a few of the resulting physical problems and malfunctions that the sages warned of. With the loss of strength, various pains and medical susceptibilities will come upon him. The wise doctors of earlier generations said that one man in 1,000 dies from unrelated illness, and the rest die from physical problems that develop from their excessive sexual relations and masturbation. And that's Rambam, The Laws of Personality, Hilkot Dialt 419. So there tends to be, according to the doctors of old, there is a large portion of the population that their strength is diminished because of an over excessiveness of sexual activity, whether it's permitted or not permitted activity. Topic number 2. The only circumstance mentioned in the Torah in which one received punishment for this, if he was already married and deliberately spilling his semen so as to prevent his wife from becoming pregnant, as and Onan did. However, one who has the ability to marry and have relations with his wife, thereby removing himself from his natural urges to spill his semen, but does not do so and rather spills his semen deliberately, that would be in the case of and Onan, is wicked and has done an evil action similar to that of and Onan. So again, if in the case of and Onan, they were married to a woman, they were brothers, and the first husband died, and his other brother was the kinsman redeemer, and he did the same thing, and he also died. So we know that people that do this, it's considered wicked in the eyes of God. Thank you.